Have you ever been on the subway in Seoul? On Seoul's subways, there are screen doors installed on platforms. The screen door is usually closed, but opens when the train arrives, like this. It is a safety device that blocks the platform and tracks to prevent passengers from falling onto the tracks. But if you look closely at the Seoul subway screen doors, you will notice something special. It is poetry. Many screen doors have poetry written on it. And we discovered another interesting thing. The foreign poems written on screen doors. Why are foreign poems written here?
한국시에서 해외시까지 넓혀보자 해서 각 대사관들에게 추천을 받았다고 해요.
대사관들도 같이 했어요?
그렇죠. 아무래도
If there is a project where embassies are involved, Are Diplomats is also involved. A total of 27 countries' poems are written on the screen doors of subway stations in Seoul.
He understood that,
And our team decided to talk about the poems of each country with the embassies of 9 of those countries.
How does it feel?
I feel very happy.
And we will begin the third episode now. In part 1, we looked at poetry from Slovenia, Greece, and Germany. And in part 2, we looked at poetry from Ireland, Chile, and Peru. So which country's poem will we read today? Today's story also begins at the subway. The station we will get off at is...
So I'm now at Oksu Station.
We still have some way to go until our destination, and we have to take a bus from here. We finally arrived! It is the Indian Embassy. And we met the Indian ambassador here. The Indian Embassy recommended 2 poems. The first one is Gitanjali 21, and the second one is Gitanjali 35. You can find these poems at Hanganji Station and Oksu Station.
I must launch my boat. The languid hours pass by on the shore. Alas for me. The spring has done its flowering and taken leave, and now with the burden of fated, futile flowers I wait and linger. The waves have become clamorous, and upon the bank in the shady lane, the yellow leaves flutter and fall. What emptiness do you gaze upon? Do you not feel a thrill passing through the air with the notes of the faraway song floating from the other shore?
Why did you recommend these 2 poems?
First of all, let me mention that both these poems are from the set of his collection of poems which are collectively called Gitanjali. Now, Gitanjali literally translates as song offerings. So these are like offerings to God. And the reason we chose these two poems is that they symbolize a vision for a better future, and they convey a sense of optimism despite some difficult circumstances. So that was one reason. The other reason we chose these poems was that Tagore often wrote in many of his poems in simple language, which made it easier for translators to stick to the original message. These poems reflect the essence of what he was trying to convey. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the word has not broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake.
So what kind of influence did poet Tagore have on Indian literature?
Gurudev Tagore was a very multifaceted personality. He of course, wrote a lot, but he also painted. He also was a sculptor and so on. He also wrote a lot about international relations and his views on those subjects. So his influence was felt widely. He also advocated what he called holistic education, and where students were expected to not only learn about sciences, but also about arts, creative pursuits, environment, and so on. He established a university called Shanti Niketan University, and I'm happy to inform you that we have a small alumni group here in Korea of students who have gone and studied there. He also wrote a lot on socio-economic conditions and his vision for nationalism based on harmony and peace and dialogue and discussion. These are the many facets which are really timeless and continues to be very relevant in the contemporary world. He was the first non-European, not only the first Asian, but non-European to win a Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. And I think his winning the award brought great joy and pride in India. It also certainly led to a more enhanced awareness of India's cultural standing in the world. At the same time, I just also wish to point out that India has a very rich tradition of literary works as well as cultural heritage. India, as you might know, is a very diverse country. We have hundreds of languages, and 20 of them are recognized as official languages in India. And some of these languages date back 2000 years and so on. So back then it was true, and to a certain degree it remains true, that the Western understanding of Indian culture, and this is perhaps true of other countries, is restricted through the narrow window of translated works in English. So clearly, that was a milestone for us that we had recognition. It did open more avenues for or more interest among Western audience to look at India, but much more needs to be done.
Actually, Tagore has a special relationship with Korea. In 1916, when Tagore first visited Japan, he met Korean poets and students who were studying abroad in Japan. At their request, he sent them his poem, The Song of the Defeated, for the Korean people. And later, in 1929, Tagore, who was visiting Japan again, received a request from a Korean journalist to visit Joseon. As he couldn't visit due to his schedule, he wrote a short poem and gave it to the journalist instead. The poem later became known as The Lamp of the East. And if you go to Jongno-gu, Seoul, you can also see a bust of Tagore. The bottom of the bust is inscribed with The Lamp of the East, the poem Tagore delivered to Korea.
Gurudev Tagore never visited Korea, but he did meet a number of Koreans in other countries. And this poem was a result of his association with the Korean people that he had met during those times. The poem itself, as I mentioned, is a short one, but it conveys a deep sense of importance that Korea held in Asia and invokes a brighter future where it would again be an important center in Asia. So I think that was perhaps a reason it provided a sense of hope and optimism to the Korean people in those difficult times.
If you have the chance to visit Hanganjin or Oksu stations, make sure to look for Tagore's poems. Our next destination is Setgang Station. Why am I here? It is to visit the Indonesian embassy. And if you exit Setgang Station, exit number 3, and walk for about 1 minute, you will find the Indonesian embassy. And the person I will meet here is...
Nice to meet you again. Happy New Year.
The Indonesian embassy also took part in Seoul subway's multinational poetry project. Indonesia's poetry can be found at Yeouido and Gangnam stations. So what was the reaction from your embassy upon receiving the proposal from Seoul Metropolitan Government to participate in this project?
Yes, we were very honored and a bit surprised, but in a positive way. We recognize how poetry is very much appreciated by the people of Korea. So this is why we want to introduce Indonesian through poetry to Korean public. This innovative idea is in line with our mission to strengthen bilateral ties, especially in promoting closer cultural exchanges between Indonesia and Korea.
Now, shall we take a look at the Indonesian poetry?
Kalau sampai waktuku, ku mau tak seorang kan merayu, tidak juga kau. tak perlu sedu sedan itu. Aku ini binatang jalang, dari kumpulannya terbuang. Biar peluru menembus kulitku, aku tetap meradang, menerjang. Luka dan bisa ku bawa berlari, berlari, hingga hilang pedih perih, dan aku akan lebih tidak peduli. Aku mau hidup 1000 tahun lagi.
So the Aku poem is Chairil Anwar's most famous work. It is a declaration of self-assertion and defiance, expressing individual freedom and a fearless spirit.
Tell me about the poet. What kind of poet is he in Indonesia?
Oh, Chairil Anwar is more than just a poet to Indonesians. So he's a cultural and historical figure. He's well respected and appreciated by all generations in Indonesia. And he's also the father of modern Indonesian poetry and a symbol of nation's struggle for independence during the colonialism.
So, as you just mentioned, the poem Aku is being showcased in Korea through subway station. So, why did you choose this poem?
Aku by Chairil Anwar is a powerful declaration of selfhood, defiance, and resilience. It embodies a spirit that pursues individual freedom and an unyielding determination to live authentically. Its famous line is the last line. Aku mau hidup 1000 tahun lagi. It means, I want to live for 1,000 years more. Symbolize his fiery spirit to live with his belief in what he's fighting for. So, Aku is about asserting one's identity and confronting life's challenges head-on, regardless of societal norms or obstacles. This universal message of courage and self-determination makes the poem timeless and relatable across culture, including for Koreans, I guess.
So, besides Anwar, are there any other Indonesian writers that you'd like to introduce to Korean?
Yes, of course. I would like to introduce some of Indonesian's notable writers, such as Leila Chudori. Her works address the impact of political turmoil, exile, and reconciliation. And I believe that her narratives could inspire dialogue about memory, justice, and healing in a global context. And the second one is Mr. Sapardi Djoko Darmono. So he's a poet, one of Indonesian most beloved poet. I personally like him very much, and he's known for his lyrical and intimate reflections on love, nature, and human connection.
I'm also curious if there are some Korean writers who are popular in Indonesia.
Oh, yes, of course. So not only K-drama and K-pop, but also K-authors, yeah. So one of the most popular Korean author in Indonesia is Baek Se-hee. She's very popular with her works. I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. So it has been reprinted 26 times in Indonesian language. Yes,
Wow.
as of February 2023. So it means it's very popular. And the second one, of course, the author Han Kang. She just recently received the Nobel Prize in Literature. And she's getting a lot of attention from the Indonesian public. And for your info, that her most popular work, The Vegetarian, it's already translated in Indonesian language.
I hope that Korea and Indonesia can become more closer through literature in the future. And if you have a chance to go to Yeouido or Gangnam Station, don't forget to read the Indonesian poem. We took the subway and came back to Oksu Station. After we got off at Oksu Station, we took a bus to arrive at
So I'm here at Malaysian Embassy.
and the people I'm meeting here are and the poems selected by the Malaysian Embassy. You can see them at Hangangjin Station and Oksu Station.
So a poem of Malaysian poet is being showcased on Seoul Metro subway. So what do you think this project mean to our culture exchange?
Well, I do believe that by having this foreign literature or materials at public places like subways especially is one way to actually introduce people to a different culture. You know, when people pass through it and reads it, it will spark curiosity, and this is where it will connect people to the other part of the world. It will help for a better understanding and connect people and bring two countries closer. And I think it's a great way for us, Malaysian, to actually promote the richness of Malay literature to the Koreans here.
So what was the reaction from your embassy upon receiving the proposal from Seoul Metropolitan Government to take part in the project?
Of course, we were honored when we saw the proposal. So, because we thought it aligns well with the mission of our embassy to actually expand the cultural exchanges and promote our culture, especially in the form of Malay literature. As you know, not many people would read Malay literature, right? So we decided to participate and share our poems.
The Malaysian poem you can see at the subway station is Perahu by Hamzah Fansuri, which means the boat poem. Before we listen to this poem, there is one thing you need to know. Perahu is written as a syair. What does syair mean?
Chairil is a Malay word. It means poem. Chairil is one of the Malay poetic form, and usually is rhymed poetry that consists of quatrains, and is usually written in Malay language. And the theme is likely to be in love and loyalty, bravery, and also social and sometimes spiritual lessons. Usually, Chairil was not just written but also recited and also be sung in its own rhythm. Although Chairil is actually, how to say, originated centuries ago, but it has impacts in our life still today because it influenced modern literature and also cultural performance.
Now, let's listen to Syair Perahu.
Berteguh jua alat perahumu, hasilkan bekal air dan kayu, dayung pengayuh taruh di situ supaya laju perahumu itu.
How was it? It kind of reminds me of Korean Fansuri.
Among his works, Perahu is being introduced in subways. So why was this work chosen?
Well, Syair Perahu is actually about the journey of life. So Hamzah Fansuri uses a metaphor of a perahu, which is a boat, to describe the journey of life, the hardship, the challenges, and the spiritual emotions behind it. So it emphasizes the theme of importance of preparations. It talks about self-discipline. It talks about spiritual guidance to navigate the challenges of life. So Hamzah Fansuri would like to encourage us to do self-reflection. He wants to say that every actions and every choices that we make in life can actually contribute to the journey and the path that we take. Inilah gerangan suatu madah, mengarangkan syair terlalu indah, membetuli jalan tempat berpindah, di sanalah iktikad diperbetuli sudah. Wahai muda, kenali dirimu, ialah perahu tamsil tubuhmu. Tiadalah berapa lama hidupmu, ke akhirat jua kekal hidupmu. Hai muda arif budiman, hasilkan kemudi dengan pedoman. Alat perahumu jua kerjakan, itulah jalan membetuli insan. You know, in the past, perahu, or actually the boat, was a vital means of transportation. Just like the subway is for us nowadays. Although the modes of travel may have changed, the poems takes us to reflect on how we take challenges, on how we face the hardship in order for us to achieve the goal of our life. So we thought that this piece would resonate with readers because it shares the value about life, and it would offer people and readers to actually have a chance to pause and reflect and think about what they would choose and opt towards the goal of their life.
So how is Hamzah Fansuri regarded in Malaysia?
Why do you think the works of a writer from a long time ago still resonate with us?
Well, the works of Hamzah Fansuri resonates today is because that most of his works are themed to be spiritual, and in today's world, we all can agree that it's complex, and every day is a lesson to us. His work mainly reflects the meaning of life, our everyday life, and also the emotional experience that we go through. It encouraged readers to reflect on their life and also find a meaning of life actually. So I would say, his work actually resonates to us.
Are there any other Malaysian writers that you'd like to introduce to Korean?
One of the famous writers is called Muhammad Haji Saleh. So his work are usually themed on identity, loyalty, and morality. His work is always a balance of tradition and also modernity. So it offers a very unique insight to Malaysian readers and also into the Malaysian heritage. One of his notable works actually is called Hikayat Hang Tuah, and this is about a hero, a Malay descendant hero. It often portrays Hang Tuah. He has leadership, he has morality, and also cultural identity. Sharing this poetry and interpretations with the Korean readers would actually foster appreciation for Malaysian literature, but also encourage comparison with Korea's own history, inspiring a deeper understanding between both cultures.
If you happen to go to Hangangjin Station or Oksu Station, don't forget to look for the poem of Malaysian poet Hamzah Fansuri. Over the past 3 weeks, we've been traveling around Seoul by subway, reading special poems from 9 different countries.
Are you familiar with the Odyssey?
There were poems that felt familiar, poems that felt new, and poems that piqued curiosity. Although they are short poems, we were able to catch a glimpse of each country's culture and find many similarities with ours. When you hear the word diplomacy, grand things like politics and economics first come to mind. However, I think the true meaning of diplomacy is the connection between people to people. A poem you come across on the subway can spark your curiosity about the country. If this can help people from one country become closer to people from another country, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing?
The next poem number 35, is a personal favorite of mine,
Really?
as well as of my wife.
Oh, wow.
Not yet. Oh, I think that's a good idea. We can also translate it into Korean. Yeah?
I think we have like similar thing in Korean called
Really?
Fansuri.
Ah.
Yeah, but I think Fansuri is really long.